And we're live. Welcome to another live stream. Track Tribe playing us in. And it's another Toy Guys Talk coming at you. It's another local toy show coming at you. Talked to the some of the fine folks from the Awesome Toy Show earlier this week. And today we're talking with our old friend Rob from 3D Vintage. Rob, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Michael? Hey, everybody.
Excellent. It's been a couple minutes. And Jacob, it's nice to meet you. How you doing?
Pleasure to meet you as well, man. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a real honor. I'm looking forward to it today.
Pleasure's mostly mine. Why don't you plug your Facebook page, Jacob, and your Instagram? You also have you're a collector, and you buy and sell too?
Very much, yeah. So I've been doing it full time for about three and a half years now. Run it fully through Facebook. Cecchin Collectables, my last name. You can see it right on the screen there. And then with Collectibles, give it a follow. Always posting some real cool and groovy stuff, and hope to chat with some of the viewers there.
Awesome. And Robbie, sad to see not too long ago, 3D Vintage Toys, at least the booth at St. Jacobs, closed up shop. Didn't really close up your doors because there were no doors there. It was all open. But I was sad to see that happen. But you got such an awesome attitude, man. You always have a one door closes, another opens. One door closes, a garage door opens for you. Now you got this
kind of.
So I guess the first question I'm going to ask you is the same question I asked the Awesome Toy Show. What made you want to do it? Do a toy show of your own?
Well, I've been into buying, selling, and collectibles for as long as I can remember, since I was a kid.
And I just I'm cutting in to give you a huge kudos, give you some big flowers. You are always one of my favorite dealers at the Binghamton show in Kitchener. Like, before I even knew you, your stuff was absolutely top stuff. Your prices were always fantastic. You were always giving me great, fair deals before you even, knew what my name was. So always a highlight seeing you, and Peter Joe too at Kyle as well at the Kitchener one. But I just wanted to cut in and say, like, you are one of the top guys at some of the other shows I've gone to. So that's why I'm really hoping to be able to make it to the Fergus one.
I appreciate that. And you mentioned Peter and Kyle, and they're both going to be vendors at the show in Fergus. But that's awesome. We'll mention that again. But yeah, I've been buying and selling and collecting, and thank you so much, Michael. That means everything to me to hear you say that.
Got your firehouse right up here, right off camera. Still have.
I remember that day like yesterday. That's awesome. Yeah, and it's just a passion of mine. And I ran 3D Vintage out of the St. Jacobs Farmers Market since 2016, and unfortunately we closed up there. It's just things are a little different now, but I'm still in the game. I'm still 3D Vintage Toys. I actually have 4 booths right now in the one-of-a-kind antique mall in Woodstock.
Love that place.
You got to check it out if you haven't too. If you're a toy collector, you're into toys, and you haven't been there, you're missing out. It's 3 floors of massiveness. It's insane.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of goodies and gems. It's an afternoon. It's a morning. It's worth it. So I'm still doing that. And then a friend of mine, Shane, and we, he approached me and talked about starting our own toy show and bringing a bit of our personality and our, interests and, and just adding to the already existing toy community that I've been a part of. I know I know all the vendors. I know all the customers. So we thought about Fergus. My friend Shane, he's from Fergus, and he thought, let's tap into this. There's nothing really around here. So we thought we'd branch out a bit, try something new. And the response so far has been phenomenal. We have so many great vendors lined up, over 60 plus vendors.
Wow.
We got all the heavy hitters. We got some new people. It's going to be great. Yeah.
And we got someone in the chat. Welcome, Bill. First one. Got to check out that Woodstock location. You do.
Yeah, you got to check it out.
You do. The first
Michael,
time
you have a video or a few videos right there of going through.
Yeah, they're awesome. One of the highlights of going there for me isn't just looking for cool stuff, but Bailey. Every time I walk in there, I try to sneak in there, right? Just kind of discreetly. And I'm all incognito, right? I got the shades on and the hat, and every time I go in there, I think no one will recognize me. He won't recognize. He sees. He's in the middle of a big sale. He's like, Mike. And he's
Shout
like,
out to
hey,
Bailey.
everybody, Mike, he did the video.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
but,
shout out to Bailey at Woodstock Antique, one of a kind mall.
the
Yeah.
first time I went in there, oh, we got another Bailey fan. It's a Bailey stream. Ashley,
Yeah. This
first
is
time I
great.
went in there, I was blown away by that place. And the third floor was pretty empty at that point. And also the side part, it was the part that was mostly filled with furniture and clothes. On the second and third floor, that was pretty much what was in there. And the third floor was pretty empty. And still, it took forever to get through that place. And now a few years later, going through it, I asked Bailey when I was done with the last video, I said, is it just me or is there more toy booths here? And he's like, there's a lot more toy booths here. So for a vintage toy collector, it's basically like a permanent toy show type of thing. And there's a lot of other great stuff there too.
Yeah, absolutely. It is neat. I'm glad you guys brought up Bailey too. I was just in there the other day. And the knowledge that he has of what's in that store too is like you can't even really conceive it. That while I was in there, somebody came in, they were looking for Simpsons Lego, and he pointed them directly to the exact booth on the second floor that had Simpsons Lego. It was unbelievable. And then they pointed it out. So if you go in there and you talk to Bailey, he'll be the first one to greet you through the door. He'll be the most energetic guy there for sure. And ask him if he's got anything, and I assure you he'll point you directly to where that booth is that has those toys.
It's pretty.
It's 3 floors, over 1,000 vendors and 3 floors.
Yeah,
and he'll know. It's crazy. He's so perfectly suited for that position. Yeah.
And just to remind, my booth number is 123. You can't forget that. 123.
You got to check it out.
I was just about to ask you. So you said you have more than one booth at Woodstock? Rob?
Yeah, I currently have 4 there right now. Yeah.
What floors are they on?
I got one on the 3rd floor, and then I have 3. I have one on the right-hand side, and then 2 on the left-hand side of the 2nd floor. My booth number is 123 at all the locations in there. So
123. I'm gonna pop that in the live chat here.
Awesome, thank you.
So that we don't forget that Rob's booth.
And I got to kind of set up like the 3D vintage that everyone knows from St. Jacobs. I still have the same cabinet, so it's a little nostalgic. So yeah, people will recognize if you go through there. I think you'll go like, okay, something here seems familiar. And that's what it is.
Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, that goes back to what we were saying about one door closes, another opens. It's too bad that the St. Jacobs location is gone, but that might be a lot more convenient for some people. The Woodstock Antique Mall, St. Jacobs being on the edge of town, it was like even it's kind of a trip, even if you live in KW, to get out there. And then it's just always so busy in St. Jacobs, especially on the weekend, just to get out there. Boba Wave, hi there, welcome, good to see you.
Hello.
And
I feel good that the last 8 or so years building that community at St. Jacobs Farmers Market, I feel like I did a lot. I did a lot for the community. I made a name for myself, and so I feel like now wherever I go, people will remember me and they'll follow me, or they'll pay attention, and I can build build something new. But yeah, it was just it was no hard feelings. No, it was sad, but it was time to do something differently. And now I get my Saturdays back. I can go garage sailing again.
Well, so, sometimes I'm not gonna bring the Bible out and start thumping it, but God sometimes kind of nudges you in the right direction, and it's good to just stroll in that direction rather than get the big boot in the tuchus, because that can sometimes happen too if you fight fate too much. Carl says check out as many booths as you can.
How are you, Carl?
And James,
good evening,
there.
James.
Welcome to the chat. So Fergus, I haven't been in Fergus in many years. The last time I was there, long time ago, I think they were just building some of the new stuff out there, like a big supermarket, Zehrs or something like that, a little strip mall or something.
Yeah, they are expanding. Yeah, into Elora and Fergus. It's a really nice community. A lot going on there, and I think a toy show there is going to be great. Everything. It's going to be a family event. Everything from the little kids to us. I don't want to say how old, but Jacob, you're lucky.
At least 30. At least 30.
At least,
all of us are at least 30.
At least, give or take. Yeah. This is a filter, you know, the gray is a filter.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was dreaming about getting one of these my whole life. I'm in the minority of I've never dreaded the gray hair, gray beard ever. Like I
didn't have a chance.
I always saw it as like it's a badge of honor, you know, because I guess because I have a lot of family that didn't make it to their first gray hair. So, you know, that's just how I look at it. Like, well, I'm privileged. Everyone who's got a head full of gray, and there's nothing wrong with dyeing your beard. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's part of the flair, baby. You got to be like the superstar, dyed his hair and his beard, the two-tone goatee, brother. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, you know, for you know, your personal choice and color and flair and all that stuff. Well, maybe I shouldn't bring up flair with his recent recent stuff. Flair's bulletproof. He can he's uncancelable. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with gray hair. But I want to put Fergus over for a second here. Some of the nicest people I've ever known are from Fergus. One of the nicest guys ever, guy named also Rob, who helped me on a lot of my movies when I was making them, from Fergus. This guy was like my right hand, literally. Like whenever I would think, and when you're making movies, it's like you always wish you had another hand because you got a tripod, you got a camera, and you're like, I wish I could have an extra hand and grab that light. Rob would always be there. You know, he'd read my mind, and I wouldn't even have to ask. It was uncanny. It was just like he would always know what to do. And he didn't go to film school. He didn't have any experience doing it. He was smart. You know, he was observant, and he watched, and he was like, before I could even ask, I'm like, oh, thanks. So he's from Fergus. Everybody, you know, that I've ever known from Fergus was awesome. And it's really cool to have it in a nice little town like that. It's not a horrible drive to get there if you're in the Tri-City area,
right,
or coming from Guelph. It's actually like a really beautiful scenic route.
Super, really nice. Yeah.
And then once you're there, I think the big advantage of doing it in a town like Fergus, over like some of the Toronto ones, is that like you can breathe when you get there. You park your car. I'm assuming free parking. It's got to be free parking in Fergus, right?
Yeah, there's lots of parking.
There you go. And you could just like it's less pressure. You know, it's more chill. It's more enjoyable. It's kind of like the Woodstock Antique Mall. Woodstock is a very similar town. It's starting to grow, but it's very awesome people in it, and very, very chill vibe to it. And I like that going into something like this, like just stroll at your leisure and enjoy the thing, rather than like, I'm not about the whole elbowing and pushing past people. Some of the Toronto shows that I've gone to, like with the big lineups and stuff, I just go like, go for it, man. Go find what you want. I got nothing left to look for. I'm browsing at this point, and the competitiveness is over. I don't care anymore. So that's why I really like, you know, the idea of one of these things in Fergus. So cool for picking that town.
It's certainly it's really healthy for like the community aspect to it. I think you get that a lot more in the more rural areas as opposed to the big city areas. And there's so much good stuff out here too, right? And especially this being the first one, it's really exciting because this is the first time that we're going to see a lot of these things here. And I know a lot of the guys like Peter, they're bringing some really heavy hitter items to this show, so you won't want to miss it for sure.
Are we allowed?
You're not going to want to miss it. I know, like, there's a lot of vendors coming, and there's amazing vendors, a lot of new vendors. You are not going to be disappointed if you're a collector and you're around the area, and you got to come out. Like, the stuff that Jacob has is it's top of the top. It's insane. You're going to have carded stuff, box stuff. I'm talking like vintage Star Wars. Like,
so that's one of the things I enjoy.
He can go through and tell you and give you some spoilers of what he's bringing, but just touching back on the small town aspect of the toy show. As a fan, as a collector, I enjoy that experience of a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, going for a drive, country drive, or just any drive, and just experiencing. And then after the toy show, you're not in a rush, you're not overwhelmed, you're not, you know, that anxiety of the big city. You can go and there's antique shops in Elora and Fergus and all kinds of little shops. You can go for lunch at one of these little, you know, cafes or restaurants and spend the day in the town. And that's the whole environment. Is like, you're not in a rush to get in, you're not in a rush to leave this town. You're going to spend the afternoon and you can really make a day out of it. So that's me going back from like memories of going to toy shows. I make a day out of it, make an afternoon out of it. And it's the whole, it's a whole experience.
And it's not like way, and exactly. And it's not way up north, you know, it's not like a 3-hour drive. I love going to these things, but when some people are like, are you going to the show 2.5 hours north? No, I wish I could, but no, that's a little out of the way. Fergus is a half hour, you know, out of town. It's a bit of a drive, but it's still closer, you know, to Kitchener than Toronto is. Toronto is like an hour and a half, 2 hours with construction and accidents at this point. A couple more live chat messages coming in. James says, Jacob, love your offerings from Woodstock toy shows. Always lots of vintage stuff to choose from.
Thank you, James.
That's right, James. You know, I mean,
Tichondrius, good to see you again. And you're getting a shout out in tomorrow's big Masters of the Universe History 85 video. The Battle Bones that I have was generously sent by Tichondrius many, many moons ago. So it was cool to be able to actually show you one of those instead of just a picture. Awesome. Dig in the Ghostbusters uniform. Thank you very much. Where is that thing? Oh, I guess it's on the back. This guy's got it on his chest there. Manny's got the Manny on. And hi there, Action Toys channel. Welcome. So Jacob, do you want to talk a little bit about what got you into toy collecting or back into it?
Would love to. Yeah, there's a whole lot of different things that got me into it. So I'm actually 24. So I didn't grow up.
Dude, you are giving your name, your age.
Yeah.
Do not give any names of your family members, please. We're live, pal.
It's funny because
Jacob, I just want to tell everyone here.
Yeah.
Jacob's kidding. He's actually 29.
Yeah, you go.
His real name is not what he's written there. That's not his real name. He's Greek. So continue.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So I missed a little bit of some of those things that took place throughout the 80s. But the nice thing was it was always new at some point because I could experience it at some point. So when I was a kid, there was a TV channel called Teletoon Retro that would always play some of the older TV shows, and I really liked He-Man and She-Ra especially. And then my dad, who I'm really close with, when I was probably about 12 or 13, started at the Woodstock Antique Mall, funny enough. And I would always go with him when we were looking at stuff to buy. And it was really cool, you know, super bonding moments for the both of us. And whenever we would go look at things, I was always drawn to the 80s toys. I just thought that they were so cool, so engaging. The use of colors really drew me in. Everything about it really hooked me. So I started collecting from that point. Yeah, you see, you've got Real Blast there. Like a figure as a kid, if you get that, you just lose your mind, man. And, you know, when I was 12 and 13, that's when I got into them. And once you get into one line like He-Man, you start going down that rabbit hole of all the other stuff and all the other lines with it. And it's so intoxicating in so many ways. And it was a really healthy outlet for me, too. And that, you know, never went away.
That's cool to hear. It's same thing with me. Talking about intoxicating. I never got intoxicated when I was growing up. Booze just wasn't my thing. Drugs wasn't my thing. And as you know, with any young person, the opportunities always arise. And sometimes it's actually some pretty hard peer pressure. And sometimes it's very subtle. You know, come on, man, what's the big deal? Don't be a square. I loved being a square. I loved it, man. I was raised to be very cautious of the crowd, especially, you know, the popular crowd where everyone was having, you know, just going along with things and not stopping and going, wait a minute, let's just double think this over. You know, one of the worst experiences of high school was watching the group of popular kids, the crowd, the popular community picking on a kid in a wheelchair. And that's when I went, maybe being part of the crowd isn't always a good thing, because not one person in that group was like, should we be doing this? So I never drank. I never did drugs. Any spare money for the G.I. Joes, right? They're $3 each. Got to save them. Or the He-Mans, they were $4 or $5.
Yeah.
Transformers, once in a while, those were like the really high end, you know, like Masterpiece are today, or Hot Toys, I guess, are today.
Sure.
And that Transformers were like the high end. So that's that's, you know, when people look at my collection and they go, how did you do that? I just said, well, think about it for a second. What if a person never drank any beer or whiskey? You know, well, occasionally I'd have like a, you know, a shot of whiskey, or, you know, I've never been a beer guy, but, you know, every once in a while, sometimes years apart. But when you don't do that for years and years and years, or cigarettes or any type of drugs, like, man, it adds up. And I think a lot of the people who, I'm not talking about just recreational using, but like chronically. I mean, look, there's a house on my street we walk by, and that guy's smoking a joint every single night without fail. Never misses a night. I'm like, that's you know, maybe he needs it for medically speaking. But like when something is more than what's needed, you know, like alcoholism and stuff like that, you don't realize how much money you're burning on that stuff. And then after 20, 30 years, you're just left with an empty room, or maybe not even a room. You know, maybe you just can't afford anything. So it's all about where you save your money. It's like Macho Man used to say, it's not what you make, it's what you save. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to hear a similar story like that.
Yeah, and it was neat. Like, I'm glad you brought up high school too, because when I met Robbie, it was actually in high school. He met when I was a real young guy, and in that period, you know, you really think a lot. I was really struggling with my identity and what I liked, because it was very different from what a lot of the other kids liked, right? Like I adored this kind of like 80s pop culture, some of the old school monster movies, and a lot of my other friends didn't have those interests, right? So it was when I started going to the toy shows, meeting guys like Robbie, who said, you know, like, no, man, this is cool. This is great. Embrace that. And, you know, at one point I finally just started to embrace that and live through that. And it's such a huge part of my personality now and what I'm doing, you know, in my life. And I'm really appreciative of guys like Robbie, who I met at the toy shows.
Mm-hmm. Tychondrius here says when it comes to age, it's 20 with 20 years experience.
Yeah.
It's you know, it astounds me that I'm nearing on a half century in age. And I remember specifically growing up and thinking there will come a day, maybe I was watching too much Star Trek, but I thought when I was young, I thought, yeah, there is going to come a day where kids aren't going to make fun of each other for being different, for having different, where are you, Omega? I remember as a kid bringing this to school, Omega Supreme, 1985, got it for birthday or Christmas. I can't even remember, but being made fun of it. Like, you still play with toys? How lame. And I was like, weren't we literally just into this stuff like a few weeks ago or a few months ago? And now now it's so lame and you're a baby and stuff like that. And I remember thinking back then, like, the day will come when people will have a lot more empathy and understanding and celebrate the differences rather than tear people down for them. And nope, I was wrong about that one. If anything, it's worse. If anything, you gotta fit in the mold. You have to go along with the crowd. And that's why every chance I get, I just say, be different, be odd, be, weird. Cringe is cool. This word cringe that's come up. Everyone's using the word cringe now. I'm thinking, cringe, that's just another word that we used to use for like lamer or loser. It's the most memorable people, the most captivating people that I remember growing up were like superstar Billy Graham. And people today, just at a quick glance at the guy, would say, oh, how cringe. What the heck? What's with the tie-dye and the pork chop? Yeah, cringe is cool. Have the courage to stand apart, be unique, be different. Even if you're a 100% clone of superstar Billy Graham, at least that's different from most wrestlers, right? Like, Jesse Ventura was pretty much a clone of superstar, but he was different than most wrestlers, right? So even though he's a clone, at least he was still kind of unique. So yeah, it's important to be different and just love what you love.
Yeah.
Simple as
and
that.
It's great too, because at the toy shows I find it, everybody's very different, but we all have the same interests, right? Like, it's a really nice melting pot of just things that we all love and all kind of embrace. It's a really healthy, inclusive community. It's one of the things that drew me to it, especially.
Mm-hmm. Another one from Tychondrius here. You guys are making me want to fly out there to go to the toy show. We don't have many of those here. I hear that from a lot of people in Europe. Eric, friend of mine in the Isle of Man, same thing. Not a lot of stuff happening down there, and I feel like we are just so fortunate in this part of Southern Ontario, because it feels like there's like 3 or 4 different groups constantly running toy shows throughout the year in the GTA area. And then London has some toy shows popping up every few months. Kitchener has a great one there at Bingaman's. Now
Stratford also.
Stratford. Yeah, I wish I could make it out to the Stratford one. There's some really awesome guys I know with booths at the Stratford one. And then awesome toy show coming up, and now the greatest toy show of all, Trinkets. Maybe do we want to oversell it? The greatest toy show that there ever was.
No, I don't want to start no toy federation beef or anything.
I think we just want to keep with the whole, it's chill, it's laid back. And that's a great point that you made, Rob, earlier, that it's like, come for the toy show, but stay for Fergus, because Fergus is a nice little town, especially if you're coming from a bigger town. Like it's nice to just take a breather. I'm always telling people, like collectors who are getting frustrated, they can't find anything. I hear a lot about, like, there's nothing at Walmart. There's nothing. They get so angry, right? There's nothing at Walmart, or in the States, they go to Target and there's nothing at Target. And I just say, there's absolutely no excuse for your frustration. Like, drive, if you can, 20 minutes to a small town. And like,
you can't keep looking under the same rock.
Don't, like, there's too much competition. It's like what I said earlier with those big Toronto toy shows, and they're fun, they're fun to go to, and there's an energy. There's like a big fight feel energy to those things when you get so many people under the same roof. But at the same time, there's a competitive vibe to it, and that just clashes with fun toy collecting. It seems too cutthroat to me. Like, for my personal taste in collecting, the whole fighting over, I don't know, like when I go to a toy show, let's say, like, one of the last things I'm looking for is Thundercats Hovercat. I'm sort of looking for it. Like, I don't want to pay, a huge amount, like $300 US for it. I know they go for quite a bit, but I'd take one that's kind of beat up and cracked and yellowed for a lot less than that, missing some parts. Just to have it. I don't care what shape it's in. But if I went to a toy show and I saw a guy carrying one, and I was like, oh, I'd be like, oh, that's one of the things I'm looking for. And if he said, yeah, I got it for $150, my knee-jerk reaction is, awesome, man, I'm happy for you. Instead of like, oh, damn, I should have got here 10 minutes earlier and it would have been mine. So
that's part of it.
I'm just over
just accepting it.
Yeah, I'm so over the competitiveness of toy collecting. I guess that kind of one of the reasons is because I have so much stuff. But a lot of the stuff I got wasn't through real competition. It was just kind of, moseying, looking around, being very patient on eBay. A lot of stuff on eBay was just being very patient, waiting, and got sniped. Not a big deal. Kind of like you were saying, Rob, like one door closes, another opens. And I've had so many things I've found on eBay and at stores where something that fell through, and then I got it later. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't get that one, because the Firehouse, for example, like the one I got from you is just in incredible shape. It's almost like brand new mint condition. So all the ones I didn't end up with before, it's cool. It led me to that day where I got that awesome one for you, as well as the Ecto one too, an original Ecto one. That was a heck of a show that day. I walked out with a Firehouse and an Ecto one.
And that's the fun of it. And that's the best part of it. And that's why I started doing it. It was going into something and not knowing if you're coming home with anything. Like, I've gone to toy shows where I'm jamming my car full, and I've come home through toy shows where I could carry it all in my pocket, and I still have just as much fun. I go for the excitement of, and the understanding that I might not find something, and that's cool, and it was still fun. But it's the community, right? Meeting the guys and talking to the other vendors and seeing a lot of the other people buying, and even the promoters. That's what I love, a big part of it. It's just the community of it, just meeting the people.
Yeah,
some of the greatest people.
So the folks going to these shows, like I've seen a lot of people who are shy, or maybe they've just had bad experiences. I get that. I certainly get that. Like you get enough bad experiences and you start to become very cautious with anyone that you encounter. But, at these shows, just say hello and smile, like I always try to say hello and, be friendly with as many people as possible. Sometimes they're just so ridiculously oversold and crowded that you can't. And I remember one guy complaining, Michael Mercy walked by me at a toy show and didn't say hi. I'm like, dude, I walked by about 300 people and didn't say hi because there was like 1,000 people at the show, dude.
It's hard for you to shop at a toy show like this.
No, that's why I like to kind of go incognito. I might be wearing a mask to if I can make it out to Trinkets.
Your cosplay.
Yeah, like those, like Mark Hamill in the Stormtrooper outfit the one time. Did he go to San Diego Comic-Con or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. Let's see. James says, years ago, there was plenty of vintage at the shows. Selection is getting thinner. eBay was a lot cheaper. Yeah, the glory days. So when I first got back into toy collecting about 10, maybe now 15 years ago, same experience there. And I go to a lot of these shows with a pal of mine, and we see a lot of the same old stuff. And we're like, man, another 90s show. All 90s, so like Power of the Force 2. That's all that's there, and just mostly 90s. So that's another exciting thing about this Fergus show, is that it sounds like there's actually going to be, different dealers, because the thing with some of the other, I don't want to sound like I'm trashing other toy shows, but fact of the matter is, like, it's a lot of the same dealers and the same stock every single time. Different town, same stuff. So when I heard that you were handpicking the dealers, I'm like, okay. And I mentioned to my pal, you want to try this Fergus one out? Rob's doing it, and with a friend, and he's handpicking the dealers. And he's like, you had me at handpicked dealers and Rob.
Yeah, I got a lot of new vendors, a lot of people that have been thinking about doing it, or, trying it out. So I'm glad to see some new people and see some new tables. And then we curated some of the best dealers in Ontario, like Jacob and Peter and Kyle and Bonus Box.
Are you doing a booth there?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be one of the best tables for sure.
Yeah. There's just a lot of, you're gonna see a lot of familiar faces, and you're gonna see a lot of new faces. And I hope everyone finds something that they're looking for, and something that they're not looking for.
Mm-hmm. So here's some of the info. I just wanted to bring this up on the Facebook page. Find them on, even if you can't go, find them on Trinkets Toy and Collectible Show on Facebook and on Instagram. Support this thing, because it's got some really good people behind it. Sunday, May 26th, 2024. When do the doors open?
So the show is from 9:30 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. and it's at the Center Wellington Sportsplex at 550 Bellside Avenue East in Fergus, Ontario. Yeah, and we'll be there till and it's $5 admission. Children 10 and under are free with an adult.
Cool,
and
man.
And if you need any other info, check out the website. Send us we do have a few, maybe a couple. Like, if you're interested in a table, we have 6-foot tables left. That's it. If you're interested in trying it out, or if you're a vendor, send me an email at Trinket Toys from info@trinketstoys.com, and let's see if I can get you in. See if I can get you a table.
ATS from Awesome Toy Show earlier this week said the same thing. Kids come in free, and I think that's just fantastic, because it really, it's for them, and it's sad that they don't have. We still have. Again, I said earlier, we're really fortunate here with all the toy shows, as well as Toys R Us. We still have Toys R Us, or something, a version. We have a version of Toys R Us left, and it's becoming less and less the old Toys R Us we remembered as the years go by. Now they got an HMV in there, and it's cool to see the vinyl in there, and the DVDs, and all the physical media books. It's cool to see that, but at the same time, that's less toys on the shelves. So but it's cool that the kids get in free. And as ATS said earlier this week, they're some of the biggest spenders. So it kind of, yeah, it evens out in the end. Action Toys channel says nothing more fun than getting fixer-uppers. That's why I like buying the old beat up stuff that's missing all the accessories. You know, it's a project. Like this can be a repair project. You know, check out Toy Polloi, great YouTube channel all about toy restoration. It doesn't just have to be mint condition and stick it on a shelf or in a glass cabinet. Like you can actually work on it, and there's such a feeling of accomplishment once you've done anything. Like I'm not the craftiest guy by any means, but like I look at my USS Flag and I go, wow, I can't believe I was able to cut those boards and put those in there, and it works now. And looking around some whitening some stuff. Like you don't have to be a rocket surgeon. You don't have to be a rocket surgeon to whiten your stuff now. It's easier than ever. Now you can get hydrogen peroxide cream on Amazon. You don't even have to do the old fill up a jar or a clear Rubbermaid with, you know,
the sun.
50 bottles of hydrogen peroxide in the sun. Yeah. Now you just put cream on. My Defiant is pretty yellowed and it doesn't really bother me all that much, but I thought, man, if it's going to be this easy, I'll give it a shot. Put some cream on there, just threw it in the backyard, and son of a gun, it's a little whiter. Put some more cream on, throw it in the backyard again. Wow, that's awesome. And that took very, very little effort.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And you know, Jacob, and you know, from being a seller, you have those clients, those people, those collectors that have that toy, and they're not replacing it, but they're fixing it or completing it. And you know, as a seller, sometimes it's like, why don't you just buy a new one? Like, why are you like, oh, I need a fist for, you know, my Optimate Prime, or I'm looking for the hose, or I need the gun for this. But it's like the idea that there's still collectors out there that repurpose or rebuild or fix up and
absolutely
complete you know, a base or a thing, and they enjoy that. They're looking like, nope, I just need this one piece or this, you know. I love that it still exists.
Goes with the thrill of the hunt, man. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And if you do want to check out some fixer-upper toys, you'll definitely want to check out the Action Toys channel. Funny enough, he does some great work with that stuff. I've sold him a few pieces with it. I'm pretty sure the last piece that he worked on that I sold him was some of the Remco Warlord figures, which was great stuff. They look brand new. He did all that. You'll want to check that stuff out. He does an amazing job at it. And just like Robbie said, you know, you get those guys who are just looking for those one or two pieces, but when they find it, they'll never forget it. And that's one of the best parts about it, right?
Peter Joe hooked me up with a couple of Thundercats figures that I had been looking for a long time. And when we met up, it wasn't actually at the show. It was, he had him listed on Facebook, and I was like, yeah, Captain Cracker, sure, man.
Yeah. And
you know, when he you know, give him the money and he hands it over, I'm just holding it in my hand. I'm like, wow, this is different. Okay. This isn't just, cool, awesome collectible. I was like, dude, this is special. Thank you. Thank you so much for hooking me up with this thing. And also like not breaking the bank. Cause again, like there's things that I'd like to get, but what is it? Thundercats Lair showed up fairly close, an hour or two drive away. And I'd love to have one, but the price was just fair. Right. I've had this misunderstanding with some dealers in the past. They just don't seem to understand my philosophy. Like I'll ask how much for this, and they'll go $1,000, and I'll go fair, but not interested. And they're like, what do you mean? That's less than what's being asked for. And I'm like, you don't seem to understand. I'm not telling you lower the price. I'm telling you I don't want it at that price, and I'm not haggling either. Like I don't know. A lot of people don't seem to understand the walk-on philosophy. They're like, again, it's that competitiveness, right? We got to haggle. I'm like, no. I don't want it cheaper than that. I hope you sell it for that. You know, it's just, I want a Thundercats Lair for, oh geez, I can't even say it. You know, like 500 would have to be pretty beat up, missing a lot of stuff. broken stuff, and that's still way too much for a toy. Like at the end of the day, it's an old toy, and these were never meant to be insanely expensive. That's what I love about them. They're trinkets. You know, I've always used the term trinkets. It's funny that this show is called Trinkets because people are asking me, so what are you looking for now? And I'm like, just trinkets. I like going to the shows and finding like, oh, you know, it's I don't know, like I'm missing whatever goes on the back of Terraclaw Skeletor. You know, so if I could find at a toy show, like what's it, the little bone skeleton dragon thing that goes on his back. Yeah, if I found one at a toy show for like $5 or $10, oh, cool. That's a huge win for me walking out. Like that's a victory. That's a success. Successful.
And overpaying on eBay for that, you're just going to take away that experience from yourself.
I'm very grateful that I don't have OCD, like to the point where I've picked up a few missing parts here and there, but I've never dropped like $100 or hundreds of dollars on that missing whatever, the guardrail on the flag or anything like that. No. That's it's plastic. It's a toy. We're not working on, like, if it was a 57 Chevy, absolutely. Right. Like hunt that nut and bolt down and get that thing done right. Or a classic Trans Am or Dodge Charger or whatever, right? Like working on a car, you want those authentic parts and stuff, but these are children's toys, you know. I think I know they're valuable and they're rare and they're whatever they're worth to each individual, but I think when you get one example I always use is that ultrasonic Quicksilver that goes for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe even 1,000 or 2,000. It's like we've gone off the rails when this toy is that much just because it's rare, because it sucks. Like, if someone loves it, awesome, but when I look at it, it sucks. It's not all chrome, right? Just the body's chrome. It looks like crap compared to the original Quicksilver. It's a step down from the original. And so what's with the price of it? Well, it's rare. And it's like, that price has to be more than just rare. It needs to be like, it's awesome. It looks cool. Something, you know, it was Ron Rudat's last sculpted figure, something special to it, right? Some story, instead of just, oh, we didn't make a lot of them, so they're very expensive.
And at the same time too, you know, like it's all to each their own of what people collect, right? Like that you mentioned the USS Flag. To someone, the USS Flag is going to be their 57 Chevy, right? Like that's going to be that grail piece that they've always wanted, they've looked at and in the Sears catalogs, and they've just, you know, hunted down every aspect of it, and they're just looking to build that with it. It's all, you know, everybody has their own interests with it, and you know, for guys like us, it's toys, right?
Mm-hmm. Couple more live chat comments here.
Ricardo, how are you?
Jacob is a great dude. Really looking forward to the Fergus show coming up. Hoping for some 1984 Dune and Shogun toys. That's going
classic.
Back. And $3 for a Joe figure shipped in 2003. Really? That's fantastic.
Take me back.
Dave is here. Robbie, thanks for mentoring Jacob.
Hey, Dave. What's up, man?
The $1 million question of when you're going to sell that, insert any figure collection that you get from people who just don't get it, or the how much is that? The pictures, sometimes you see pictures posted on a Facebook group, and I always see the initials NFS, not for sale.
Yeah.
Because people are asked so often how much. It's like, you're allowed to post things you like without it being all about money. And, you know, that's a real clash of values. It's a real clash of values when you get people who really enjoy this stuff, and you group them together with people who are all about the monetary value, profiteering. Toys are an investment for them. They're not a hobby, you know, for enjoyment. So it's funny when everything has to have a not for sale after, just to specify like, no, this is mine. I'm sharing it with you. I'm sharing a picture. Oddly, I've never gotten, or very rarely, I think, gotten offers on the videos that I do. Like, people never message and go, hey, how much for that Sky Striker in your video, or the Defiant or whatever. Like I guess for videos they just understand, no, this is not going to be leaving my collection. But for pictures, it seems to be more like if someone sees a picture, they just think it's for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fans of Jacob in the chat today. Looks like you should have this name tag. You're the superstar tonight, brother. Adam Savage usually does full cosplays to visit the floor at cons. He did a wicked alien spacesuit. That's awesome.
Right, I heard about. He's one of those guys too. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's fun to dress up at these cons, and again, it's too bad that some people think that's lame or cringe. It's like, oh, you know, just be normal. No, man, like where else can you dress up as a Ghostbuster and it'd be okay? Like you can't go to City Hall as a Ghostbuster. You might get arrested, you know, but at these conventions, Comic Cons, Toy Cons, definitely. And you don't have to go all out. You don't have to drop $1,000 or $2,000 on your costume. Just like if you got one of those belts, like one of the belts you picked up, Rob, at one of those, I think it was a Mississauga show we went to,
yeah,
with Indo Nerd, rock that belt. I think if I can make it to the Fergus show, I'll probably be wearing one of my championship belts, and
yes,
you know, a
warrior,
warrior or savage, because like the bling.
No, you
man,
just gave away your costume. Now they're gonna know.
I got a lot of options.
Yeah, there you go.
But like, you know, you can't wear a championship belt to Walmart. Yeah, you could like
You could, yeah.
in keeping with what I said, you know, cringe is cool and be different and be weird. Yeah, you could. But you know, there's also the old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I wouldn't push it that far where I'm fine with wearing cool, fun nerd shirts and jackets, you know, when I'm shopping, but I don't know if I would wear the World Heavyweight Championship. Plus, you never know if someone's going to try to like take it from you, hit you in the head with a steel chair, and try to steal it from you.
They challenge you to
supermarket match,
produce match.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. All right. So just to wrap up here, to reiterate, the Trinkets Toy Show in Fergus. It is Sunday, May 26th, 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Center Wellington Sportsplex, 550 Bellside Ave East in Fergus, the lovely town of Fergus. And your vendors are 3D Vintage, Box Games, and that looks like a turtle. Your name here.
Turtle. We will have this week, next week, this week and next week, this upcoming week, we'll have a list of a lot of confirmed vendors, and we'll post things, and so we'll let you know a lot more people that are going to be there.
Awesome. So that's,
if you can make it out, please say hi, come by and say hi, introduce yourself, you know. Come and see Jacob.
What I was saying earlier about like, you know, some of the folks that go to these things can be kind of shy, and, you know, they don't want to, but just, you know, go up and say hi, especially to these guys on the stream. Like if you see Jacob or Robbie, or if you see me mingling through there, don't be afraid to say hi. I met a great guy at one of the last Kitchener toy shows a couple months ago. And, you know, he just went up and he said, "Hey, I like your videos. It's nice to meet you." I'm like, "It's nice to meet you too." And that was it. You know, like after just a minute or two, like we don't have to talk for a half hour. Like it's cool to just say hi. And then I actually found out from another friend. It's like, "Oh, I hear you met him at the toy show. He's a good dude." And, you know, we message each other on Instagram. Cool. New friend. Yeah. Awesome. But yeah, it can just start as quick as that. It's like they say, sometimes it's not about the toys. Sometimes it's about friends.
About the community.
It's about the friends we meet along the way.
And we're a nice community. If you've never been to a toy show and you're thinking about coming, and you're from Fergus or you're from close in the area, come on out. Don't be shy. Come and say hi. We're cool people. We're very welcoming, and just come and have fun.
Hey, before we close out here, and I just wanted to say that counter is awesome. That's really cool. It's exciting. Ricardo's asking Jacob and Robbie's favorite toy line. So you guys want to talk about that?
Great question, man. Robbie, you take it first.
Okay. My favorite toy line of all time is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Classic.
I remember when they first came out, and they were affordable, and they were the color and the packaging and the characters were something I've never seen before. You know, because He-Man was kind of like not serious, but more like, you know, like kind of lifelike, I guess, you know, in a sense. G.I. Joe was, you know, more, you know, kind of human, I guess. And I don't know, the Ninja Turtles, just the colors and the characters. And I think just throughout life, I've always been drawn to that type of pop culture. Or those
They were
types of toys.
fun. They were so fun and carefree.
I love the imagination behind them, the characters.
Absolutely,
and the names.
Because we had the, like, really the kind of dark Transformers war, the melancholy war of Transformers, the very curt, sharp G.I. Joe, you know, they're military. This is serious. We're dealing with terrorists here, even though no one ever died. The parachute always ejected out of the jet, but still it was serious stuff. He-Man was fairly lighthearted, but also like the big cinematic music and the hulking physique. And then the Turtles came around and they were just so carefree. Like, they're just fun, wise. They were the John McClane of 80s toys and comics and cartoons. They just always had a
dialogue. The dialogue, right? It was not a dialogue that we heard. I mean, if we heard a dialogue like that, it was always like the boss's sidekick, and he was like a bozo or like a dum-dum. Sure, we had Bebop and Rocksteady. They played that role, but I mean, just to hear these turtles like totally tubular, like radical, and being a kid is like, yeah, I talk like that. I want to eat pizza and skateboard, and you know,
and the theme song, one of the cats, songs. Had to sing it every time.
Yeah.
And Jacob, your favorite?
Yeah, mine, I've got a little bit of an obscure one, actually. My favorite toy line came out in 1980. It was from Remco. The Universal Monsters line that they did, I think, was just a sensational toy. And there's a lot of different reasons for it. So I have a couple of the figures funny enough to show. I've got Dracula and Frankenstein. And I think with them, I think it was the best use of the glow-in-the-dark feature that they were kind of booming in that 80s era where they were throwing it on everything. I think that is the best feature that a toy could have been used for, the original monsters. And I think it's a really ambitious toy, too, to be honest with you. All the movies, they came out with 6 characters initially. And they were all films from like the 40s through 50s, right? Like there were no TV shows made of these guys. They were just great looking figures, amazing card art, glow in the dark, you know, great likeness to the figures themselves. For all those reasons, that'd be my favorite toy line for sure.
I love those obscure lines, and I don't know about that one, so it's cool to find out about that one.
Check them out when you see the card backs to it. It's a full like facial shot of the monsters themselves. It is just too cool, man.
Remco, not usually brought up when discussing the great toy makers of the 80s, but they made 2 of my favorites, Crystar, and the AWA wrestling.
Great
figures.
line, yeah. Shawn Michaels' first figure was in the AWA line, yeah.
That's right. You mean Marty?
Burger King made a
Marty,
version.
The
Burger King released, I think, later in the 90s, they released those Remco Universal Monsters. Sometimes if you find the Burger King ones, they look very similar.
And then they came out a little after, and those are great figures too. Yeah, classic stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Another good dude, Zazel's Clubhouse, formerly Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse. What's up, good buddies? Hey, Zazel, good to see you in here. Really, really good dude. Like, seriously awesome dude. We're saying that a lot tonight, but Zazel's cut from the same cloth as you guys. You know, always looking on the bright side, focus on the positive. It's a fun hobby. Keep it fun. Rodimus Prime 1982 says, I wore my Cobra Commander helmet while grocery shopping. It was Halloween, of course. That's when it's okay to do that.
It's okay.
And he also says, my favorite toy lines were what I call the big 3 of the 80s: Transformers, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe. I've said that all the time, and sometimes I get corrected. What about Star Wars? And I let them know I don't give a crap about Star Wars. I didn't grow up on it. I didn't grow up on Kenner's Star Wars, so it's not in my top 3. It just wasn't a thing. I caught it in the 90s when all the stuff I loved was dead and buried, and then I loved Star Wars in the 90s, and I wished I could have gotten to Kenner, but I didn't grow up on it. So yeah, those are the big 3 for me. And Zazel says, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you, Zazel. And check out Zazel's Clubhouse on YouTube.
Oh, yes.
Give him a subscribe. He's got some great roundtables with another super awesome dude named Gaz on there. He's a good dude. Ricardo says great toy lines not everyone knows about. And Action Toys channel, Remco always does well. Yeah, very underrated. They're kind of I guess they kind of get grouped in with LJN, like the cheap toy maker, but there's stuff like take a closer look at it, and
absolutely, yeah.
And you'll see it's better than just like the cheap section toys that the reputation has kind of gotten. Like their Remco wrestlers were so great that they're doing them today, right? Like the are they called the Superstars? They're just called the WWE Superstars, are in like their He-Man Origins bodies, but it's basically Remco style. So whenever I see like a Ric Flair or Randy Savage at the store, I think like that's Remco. If Remco had continued, that's what we'd be getting. One of the first ones I bought of Remco was the Fabulous Freebirds 3-pack. Before I even knew who they were, like I wanted wrestlers to use like for wrestling in my LJN ring. So I didn't know who they were, but I'm like, they were on clearance and it's 3 figures for whatever it was, $5. Like, yeah, let's do it. I don't think we'll be seeing the Fabulous Freebirds 3-pack Rock of the Stars and Bars these days.
And then Zombie Sailor makes them or something.
No, well, yeah, there's always like the smaller fan companies, but I'd love to
see the ring.
Oh, really? It was wood, right? With canvas?
Yeah, and have a little screw. We saw it at the toy show. It was quite expensive. I remember. I had the box.
Right, we did. Yeah, it was weird because I'm so used to the LJN plastic one, and this one.
You're right. There was wood. I think wood and screws.
Basically, a miniature real wrestling ring. It's pretty wild. Still wish Hasbro would reissue Mask Toys and Visionaries.
Oh.
I don't get it. That's a head scratcher. I've been saying it, I think, since the channel started. Where's Mask? Like, we've gotten a Matt Tracker G.I. Joe. We've gotten a San Diego Comic-Con box set of Tracker and some other guys, but like, where's Mask? Seriously. It's true. It's very.
I mean, it would be a premium toy. I think the price point would be insane, but I mean, people would buy it. Absolutely.
G.I. Joe sized Mask, like 1/18 scale Mask vehicles with not even like a crossover, just make it 1/18 scale Mask. That would, I don't know. It all comes down to price, but I've seen some pretty high priced items that people are buying up. Like, look at some of the
it would sell. I guarantee. Oh yeah, they would sell for sure.
Look at some of the HasLabs. Like, those are pricey, and they're getting backed, and not just backed, but they're making the first tier unlocked and second tier unlocked and third tier unlocked. So, it's all about, you can't get it all, but you can get some of the special ones if you save. You sell some stuff, skip some stuff, save. Don't buy beer. Instead, put that towards some of the collectibles. And yeah, like a $300 toy these days is pretty crazy. But if that's $300 you would have otherwise burned on, whatever, drinking or cigarettes or other, just partying. I've never been like a concert goer either. So that's another thing. Like, I've always preferred to actually have something to show for my purchases instead of, like, don't get me wrong, I love vacations and stuff like that, but like concerts, I don't really need to go to like 100 of them. Like, I went to see Gowan twice or 3 times, and I was like, I'm set for quite a while, like I don't need to go see Gowan 50 times. He's one of my favorite singers, but it's like, it's better to buy yourself like some nice furniture or a TV or a nice barbecue or something,
or toys
too. If you can get the ones you're looking for. LJN Dune toys are a favorite. So underrated.
Yes.
Classic. Yeah.
Did they make Sting? Did you get a figure? Classic LJN Sting. I'm wondering if there was a Sting figure before, like, ow, Sting. Wrestler Galoob Sting got a figure. Second wave Visionaries would be amazing if they did it. Oh, I did a video a while ago on that, and those looked spectacular. Wasn't meant to be, though. I don't know if there's enough of a following of Visionaries to warrant going back into that. Like, that's what makes me so confused about Mask. Inhumanoids came and tanked. Visionaries came and tanked. Cops made it to a second series, but doesn't seem like it was all that successful. Bravestar, one series tanked. Sectars, one series tanked. We've seen so many of these brought back in some form, and Mask, nothing. Like, Mask it went from 85 to 88, I think. It went a couple of years. It had quite a few episodes. Like, it was a lot more successful than a lot of the one and done Centurions.
Yeah.
Right, 1 year came and went. But Mask is the puzzler. I would love to hear from someone at Hasbro, like, what is the deal? Why are you just not interested in Thundercats? Has had so many reboots.
Yeah.
He-Man has had so many reboots. I don't get it.
Well, the design was ahead of its time for Mask. If you think
Mhm.
about those, all the the spring-loaded actions and the missiles and the transforming parts, and it was quite interesting. It was
Yeah.
a lot of little pieces and parts.
The
I can't
vehicles look
imagine
fantastic.
manufacturing those or starting from scratch to get all the to build all those components and
Mhm.
pieces. Who knows? They're probably in the works. We'll probably hear an announcement, at Toy Fair next year. Or something.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my shelf right now. It's like maybe another issue is that they're all based on real vehicles. And I know that's been an issue with some of the Masterpiece Transformers. Like, that
Right.
really jacks up the price because they have to go about getting like the proper licensing these days. It's not like the Wild West days where you could just do a Volkswagen and what you going to do about it. Like, I just picture the Hasenfeld brothers calling up Volkswagen. What you gonna do? Cry? Hang up. Call Porsche next. We must stop these Hasbro people stealing off all our designs. But these days, it's everything is so litigious. Like, they don't dare make Thunderhawk without getting Camaro's okay, or Jeep, or any of those. Lamborghini, man, they had some great vehicles for Mask. So that's another issue. Those vehicles are so iconic. If you did Thunderhawk and it's not the original Camaro, like, how many people are going to go, why bother? Like, it's like making Kit anything but a Trans Am. Like, you can't change that. That's what it is. Optimus Prime is a COE Freightliner. Like, you can't. Jazz is a Porsche. You can't change this. What's on Joe Mind? Good to see you. Glad to see someone enjoying a Friday night. Glad you could tune in. Heard Hasbro didn't archive their toy blueprints.
That would make sense.
Hindsight's 2020. They didn't realize they were creating toy artistry at the time. They're making kids' toys, and so it's become so much more than what they thought it would be. I think the days of Hasbro or Mattel investing any real amount of resources in development are gone.
Good point. I agree with that.
Amazing customs based on those catalog images of those figures. That's the Visionaries, the prototypes. All right, gents. Wow, we went an hour. I was expecting only to go to half hour, but we've got some great toy chat in addition to talking about trinkets. So again, just to wrap up, check out the Trinkets Toy and Collectibles show in Fergus. The links are all down there in the video description. And Rob and Jacob, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob. It's a pleasure, man. Awesome.
Hey,
thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone in the chat.
Guys, thanks for joining.
Good chatting with you in the chat there. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy History of Masters of the Universe 1985 edition tomorrow. Been working on that for a long time. Super fun. That one really took me back to when I started the channel. That one feels a lot like when I first started doing the history videos, and I just got to have a ton of fun, come up with a bunch of ideas for that stuff. So hope everyone enjoys that one dropping tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Nerdmas Day.